Well, hello, and you're very welcome to Marjorie's Kitchen after all these years to get here at long last. I've had a lot of requests looking for a very simple Easter cake, and that's what we're going to make today, and it'll be on the fact sheet. We're also going to prepare a FERRERO ROCHER with a third of the calories, and also we're going to make some chocolate scones, really delicious. So for this, they're very, very simple ingredients. As I would always advise everybody, get all your ingredients together, prepare everything. Don't go to the press halfway through, look and see what you're going to get. So the first thing I do is turn on the oven, and for this we're preheating the oven to 180 degrees centigrade. So for this I just prepare everything. I have the flour weighed out, it's 227 grams, and I'm going to sieve all dry ingredients. So I sieve the flour first, and into that we're going to put a little bit of Bourneville chocolate. The powder is the one I prefer for baking. You can use Cadbury's, but my preference for this is the Bourneville. So just prepare all the ingredients first. So I just sieve the flour and the chocolate. For this we're going to use 4 eggs, and into this I'm going to put some chocolate chips as well. And in here I just put the baking powder as well, a teaspoon of baking powder. So that's all our dry ingredients. If a recipe doesn't state what size an egg you use, it's usually a size 3. So we have 4 eggs here, and into this then I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So this is just preparing all our ingredients before take-off kind of thing. So I've got these measuring spoons here. These are very handy to have. I had a lot of queries from guests and from different listeners wondering the size of a spoon, because a lot of people mix this size up with a tablespoon. That in actual fact is a serving spoon. Then we have a tablespoon, dessert spoon, and a teaspoon. So not to get those mixed up. So if you can come across these, they're very handy to have. So into here we're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla extract, just for extra flavour. I usually add it to a lot of my different baking. So we just whisk that up, and then all we have to do is assemble our cake. And for this we're using 8 ounces of, I'm actually using margarine. There's a few basic things I use butter for. I always use butter in the base of a cheesecake, icings for my cakes, or if you're doing a very rich cake, I'd always use butter. So for this now, I'm going to put this into my old-fashioned mixer that I got about 100 years ago, but it really never lets me down. So in here, first of all, I'm going to cream the butter. Now, I'd always recommend to have all your ingredients at room temperature, and especially the butter. I find it's very, very hard to get soft butter, so make sure it's at room temperature. So I'm just going to blitz this for a wee second. And into that then I'm going to add our castor sugar. I'm going to put in the sugar. So that's the castor sugar. So just until it's nice and light and fluffy. You're just creaming the butter and sugar until it's nice and soft. And into that then I'm going to gradually add in the beaten egg and our dry ingredients. So just a little at a time, but first of all I'm just going to scrape down the bowl here. Now I'm just going to add a little of the beaten egg first. Some recipes ask to do that and gradually add in the flour, but I do it alternatively. So in here we have our flour, baking powder, and our cocoa powder. So again, just going to mix it up. It's a very simple mixture, and the great thing about this mixture is you can use it for making cupcakes, muffins, or even a tray bake. I often do that as well if you're having a crowd of people in. It's a good idea. You get a lot of the squares out of it. So I want to finally add in the rest of the egg and our dry ingredients. And then finally I'm going to add in our chocolate chips. So you can use the dark ones, the milk ones, or the white chocolate. And again, just to make sure that it's all mixed in, I just mix it down again, just in case there's any powder around the edge or anything like that. And into that then I'm just going to add our chocolate chips. I've just the milk ones in here and the dark ones. And that's basically it. Now, these are old tins. They're clean, I can guarantee you, but they've done a lot of baking. And what I find really invaluable is a new product that's out. It's non-stick baking spray. I've already sprayed around the edges with this, just to ensure that the cake doesn't stick. And then I'm going to use baking parchment paper. I prefer the parchment as opposed to greaseproof paper, because nothing will stick to this. Whereas with the greaseproof paper, you have to grease it as well. To ensure that your cakes are both of even size, what I normally do is weigh the tin first, then put in the mixture. So both tins are the same weight. So I'll know then to add in I'm just going to level it off and pop it into the oven then for about 25 minutes. The icing is very simple then. We just do it with icing sugar, butter, vanilla, and a little milk. Now I'm just going to spread that out. Just move away this now, that they're even. Now I'll just prepare those, have those prepared, and we're just going to pop them into the oven. I'll just put that over there a bit more. And now we're going to make these delicious scones. These are a little different. I find these go down very well with the guests staying here. A lot of French people like chocolate in the morning, so it's nice to have something a little different. So for this, we're going to just, again, sieve our dry ingredients. I have sieved them already, but we just sieve them again. That's our flour, baking powder, and salt. I'll just do it a little bit at a time here. I should have perhaps got myself a bigger bowl, but anyway. So there's our flour, and into that goes a pinch of salt and our baking powder. Very simple, just like making ordinary scones really. Into that then I'm going to have our butter, which I've just chopped up a little bit, because we have to rub that in, just like making pastry. You just rub it in and you get fine breadcrumbs basically with it. So just by your fingertips. This is a very simple recipe, but I have to tell you, very tasty. Now I'm cutting these out using a 2.5 inch cutter, but you could use a 2 inch and make them a little bit smaller. Delicious, just coming from the oven warm, with a little butter if you wish, or whipped cream piped on them, just really lovely. Or lovely on their own. I had a friend of mine in a few minutes ago, and she's after having one with a cup of tea. No butter, no cream, just went down a treat, she said. So into that then, I'm just going to put in our sugar, stir it around. Very simply, here we have our chocolate chips. What do you think of that? A minute on the tongue and a mile on the hips, I'm thinking. So in here we go with our chocolate chips. Now you could substitute that and just put in cherries and sultanas or whatever you want, but it's Easter. And with all the penance we've done and given up chocolate for the last few months, we have to go here. So I'm just going to put a little well in the centre here. And into this I'm going to put some buttermilk. Now, a 1/4 pint. I find with buttermilk, it depends on the buttermilk, if it might be a little bit too thick or whatever. But what I find is when you're making scones or bread, especially my brown bread, add most of the liquid first. A lot of people have a problem where their scones or their brown bread are very tough. And the reason is adding a drop, putting it off, adding a drop, no good. So you have to add in most of the liquid first. And you'll find, now this is thick, this buttermilk. So I may have to add a little drop of water to it. That's a 1/4 pint gone in there. Just bring it all together. I find using this that it's better to use a metal spoon as opposed to a wooden spoon. I just get it better. So I'm just going to add a tiny drop of fresh milk here. Now, if there's a thing you want buttermilk and you don't have any in the house, you can use ordinary milk and add the juice of half a lemon. Leave it to sit a while and then it'll be perfect. We're nearly there. Yeah, it's quite soft. I don't want to add any more liquid because then I'm going to be in trouble with that. So I'm just going to take this from the tin onto the table. Table is organised and disinfected and everything is all okay for this. I usually have a big board for it. But anyway, just take this out now. Now, just lightly, no need to be kneading it for a half an hour. Again, makes it tough. So you can roll it out with a rolling pin or by hand like this. Just until it's about, what, 3/4 of an inch. Then using a cutter. This is the cutter I've used for the one that you'll see in a few moments. I just press it down. And whenever I'm cooking my scones, I normally put it on a baking parchment on a tray. I think actually for the rest of them, I'll just do 2 this size. And the other ones, I think I'm going to do them a little bit smaller. Just to have them, you know, you can reheat them in the microwave for a few seconds just to serve them warm. Really delicious. So I hope you're going to try these out. They're very simple. Nice one to get the children involved in as well for Easter. Just bring it all back together. And all we do then is when we put them on the baking tray is I'm going to brush the top of them with a little bit of egg wash, and all that is a little bit of egg beaten with a little drop of milk in it. The oven is preheated at 220 degrees. It literally only takes 10 minutes to bake these, so be careful. Don't think they'll be taking a bit longer. Go off because they will burn quite quickly. So we have a nice amount of it. And you know, the great thing about this too is you can make these or batch cook them. And if you were expecting some friends, you can actually freeze them as well. Now, just a little egg wash on top. But I can guarantee you they really are delicious. Or if you wished, you could put them into a roll and just slice them and have them make them out like that as well, which is really lovely. Well, now I have to say, this is one of my favorites. This is a simple one, and you won't believe it. Wait till you taste them. Absolutely super. And for this, these are our simple Ferrero Rocher, and for this, I'm just going to use 2 Weetabix. I got this recipe from a friend of mine who was on the mission. You know what on the mission is? Losing the weight. So where you love the chocolates, this is one that you can get away with. So for this, all you need is Weetabix and Nutella. 2 simple ingredients. Now, if you wish, you could have coconut with this. You could mold the mixture that we're going to make around nuts. You can dip them in chocolate. These are so tasty. I guarantee you wouldn't know the difference when you're tasting them. So for this, I'm just going to take up 3 or 4 tablespoons of Nutella. And all we're going to do is pop it into the microwave for a few seconds to make sure it's nice and soft. I'll put in 3. Now, it is a little messy starting off because you have to have your hands in water, but we don't mind that. So you must make sure that they're nice and crushed up. You could put them into a plastic bag and do them out with a rolling pin if you wish, or into the food processor. But I'm just going to do it by hand here. So that's basically all it is the Weetabix. And I'm just going to melt the chocolate. So here we have our Nutella in with our Weetabix. Stir it around, work quickly on this, just to coat it all. And the hands will be going into this now very shortly. So the one thing I find that you have to have your hands wet for this, or you're in trouble. For this now, I'm just taking a little piece of our mixture and forming it into a ball in my hand. That's basically it. That's it. It's quite simple. But as I say, you could have a wee nut, an almond, or whatever kind of nut in underneath that, and let it set. Or when these are set, you could dip them in chocolate. You could dip them in chocolate and have a shake on a little bit of coconut. You could use white chocolate on them as well, which would be very nice. But they taste lovely. You mightn't believe it. They're really tasty. And you're not going to have all the calories you're going to have with the real thing. But as I say, you have to have your hands in the water for it. It'd be an ideal one to get the children making this as well. Now, that's just it. So, they're just going to set. And you could just shake them with a little dusting of ice and sugar or whatever you like. They don't look a lot there, but I can guarantee you they taste delicious and they're so simple to make. An ideal one to have on your table for Easter. I think I'm going to have a taste of one of these. I can't wait any longer. Delicious. Jerry and Paul, if you're very lucky, I might have one of these for you the next time. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed your visit to Marjorie's Kitchen. I hope you've enjoyed the recipes and that you're going to try them out. You can join me the first Thursday of every month with Paul and Jerry on the mid-morning show, where I share all my recipes. Also, the recipes are available on our Facebook page on midwestradio.ie. And also to let you know a little bit about myself here, if you want any other recipes, you can contact me at marjorie'skitchen@hotmail.com. And of course, my website is brigowanbnb.ie. So I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Wishing you all a very happy Easter.